Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. I'm Vittorio Campanile, with me Alistair McKenzie. Alistair, this was a terrible Sunday till the last second of the match.
Yeah, well, it's still not the best. I mean, obviously, what a goal by Immobile to get the point, but I think we'll all be on the same page here in that wasn't a Lazio performance that's going to make any of us very happy, and going to Cagliari and taking just 1 point isn't a result that's going to make us very happy.
No, I think we have so many things to talk about after today's performance. So many things. The referee, but as well Lukaku, Lulic, Simone Inzaghi decision, the penalty for Cagliari.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think we're going to make it in 1 hour today. So, guys, sit down, relax, start sending your question, because I think we have really a lot of things to say. Shall we start from Lukaku, Alistair? Because I think Inzaghi gave him plenty of chances recently. But again, today he was probably the worst on the pitch after the referee.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's been, like you say, been given so many chances by Inzaghi by now, and you have to think of Bastos and the number of chances he was given by Inzaghi until a certain point when he lost his trust and he's out of the team. So, I mean, Lukaku, I suppose, has the advantage of not having too much competition for that position, but the way he's been playing, there's no real defence for him anymore. You know, he's not defending well and he's not attacking well. I said towards the end of the first half on Twitter that the onus is really on him and Basta to be providing more of an attacking threat, and they're just not. You know, he's not really providing anything.
Yes, and the thing with Lukaku that we said always in the past was that we were concerned about the defense, but now he's not able to dribble past the defender. Never. I mean, today he was playing against Cagliari, not the best defense of the world, and still he wasn't able to create a chance. And the few time he was able to put the ball in the box, it was terrible. Sometimes he sent it directly out. So it's really concerning. He started much better the season, and now he's I don't want to say a disaster, but most of the time he's the worst man of the pitch for Lazio. Now, Marusic should be back next Thursday. I don't know if this will mean that we won't see Lukaku playing anymore.
Yeah, well, you would expect Lulic to be able to start in that position ahead of him once... well, I mean, he already could be and possibly should be, to be honest. Obviously, Lulic started in the centre midfield today with Milinkovic-Savic being dropped. But I think as the way things are going, he kind of has to be taken out of the team. There's no excuse. I think football is obviously a performance-related business, and if you're not performing well, then you have to be punished for it. And he's just so one-dimensional. He basically has one move in his locker when he's attacking, which is knocking it on past a defender and beating him to it with his pace. But it's just so predictable, and it seems like defences have really worked him out now, and that they're not having any problem organising themselves to actually stop him. And he basically isn't a technically gifted enough player. Doesn't have a good right foot. That he's not very dangerous cutting inside or, being a creative player. He doesn't really provide anything.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, at the beginning of the season, when he was playing better, you were seeing trying different things, and sometimes it was even working. Now he completely lost confidence, and not only he's not trying nothing special, but even the usual things that were working before are not working anymore. And again, it's not because in front of you have Paolo Maldini. It's simply because you're performing so bad that even you probably will be able to stop him. So, yeah, it's to be honest, even on the other side, Basta played badly. Basta, again. And when you don't have Milinkovic-Savic like today, the wingers are fundamental. We said this before. But with Lukaku and Basta playing like this, it's very easy at the moment to defend against Lazio because you only have to defend the middle because you know that Lukaku is not going to be able to put it across and Basta as well. So you just have to mark Luis Alberto and Immobile and it's done.
Yeah, well, exactly. I don't think it's very difficult at the moment to stop Lazio. And Inzaghi needs to take a lot of responsibility for the fact that teams aren't having too many problems with us because it's just too predictable. And I think the idea of him basically, once we get in trouble, just throwing on all our attacking players, and there doesn't really seem to be too much of a structure or a shape when he does that, I don't think that's really good enough. I think he needs to mix things up. It's time to have a change. And we talked in the last episode in quite a lot of depth about the various tactical options available to him. And I think perhaps it's time to do something, time for change.
Yeah. In the press conference before the match, Inzaghi said that Milinkovic-Savic, Luis Alberto and Felipe Anderson cannot play together because the team hasn't got balance if they play together. But I think you have to find a solution to make them work together at least Luis Alberto and Felipe Anderson, I think, with Immobile in front, obviously. Because, with Lukaku and Basta playing like this, I think there aren't any other solution. So I hope this match helps Inzaghi to understand that he has to change something. Because otherwise, I don't think Lazio has a chance to go to Champions League.
Yeah, and this result today, I mean, a point's better than nothing, obviously, but it does feel like results that if we don't get into the top four, it's one that we're going to look back on at the end of the season, along with the loss to Torino and Genoa and the draw against Spal on the first day. It's those kind of results that are really the difference between making it and not making it. And while we have this decent run of fixtures going up to the derby, we really need to be using them to get some confidence back in the team and to get them to understand how to play confidently again. Because I think the confidence has really been lacking recently.
Yes, I agree. And I was thinking that playing Lulic in the middle was a good choice to give more physical power to Lazio midfield without Milinkovic-Savic. But again, Lulic didn't play well today. I think in the first half, Lazio wasn't able to make two passes in a line together, One pass and they were losing the ball. This was terrible. And big part of it was Lulic. We always said that he gives everything, but sometimes he gets a little bit, he makes a little bit too much confusion in the midfield, losing the ball, making mistakes on the pass, etc. Today we saw it again. And with Lukaku and Basta playing like that, if you add even Lulic to the mix, Lazio wasn't playing really well. And that's one reason why Lazio struggled today.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an all-round performance. Nothing really. We've not really got anything to look back on and be too positive about because, like we've just been talking about, the attack wasn't working properly, and defensively we've absolutely thrown away 2 goals again. I mean, the obviously the VAR, I'm sure we'll get around to again, but giving away the penalty, that should have never been an opportunity for Cagliari in the first place. And then the first goal is just a case of getting past Basta to get the cross in far too easily and not reacting quick enough to the situation. And, conceding too many goals now. That's 2 games in a row where we've really been quite worrying defensively.
Yes. On the first goal, it's simply incredible. Strakosha make an incredible save, and the ball bounced on the head of Pavoletti, who didn't do nothing. He that's an incredible, lucky goal. But see where De Vrij is. Where is he? Again. I don't want to say that he's not playing well because he knows he's going to leave Lazio. No, but again, he was far away from the player. He should be near there, and he wasn't. So, I don't know. I know it's too much to blame De Vrij because it was really an incredible luck for Cagliari. But this is how things are going for Lazio at the moment. Very bad luck and some stupid mistakes.
Yeah, it's a combination of all those things, really, isn't it? And yes, you're right to point out Strakosha's save was incredible. I mean, I feel very bad for him because nobody will remember the save because the goal came immediately afterwards. But it was a great stop, and like you say, it's just bad luck in a way that the rebound just falls straight to Pavoletti. But you do want De Vrij to be anticipating that a bit better. And like I said as well, you do want Basta to actually put up a bit of a fight to stop them getting the cross in because he just basically knocks it past him and far too easily. And to concede 2 goals to Cagliari is, it's unforgivable really, considering where they are in the table and where we are.
Yes, I agree. And again, too many mistakes, both in midfield and defense. I don't know what to say about Luis Felipe performance today.
Not good.
Yeah, but he made a couple of great save, and then he made a couple of bad mistakes.
Yeah, it's true. It was quite a contrasting game for him, I suppose, and he did make a couple of very good recoveries. But the penalty, it's a debate, I suppose, at fault for it because Strakosha should be coming to take that as well. I mean, I don't really understand Strakosha's hesitation in that situation, and also Luis Felipe shouldn't be. He shouldn't be throwing himself in front of Pavoletti in the way he does. So all around, it was just two players who we've praised this season really for how they have played, looking like they have more experience than they have, and with that kind of calmness. But that was a moment that made them both look very inexperienced and like they were just young players who still have a lot to learn.
For me, it was, I like Strakosha today because he made he made that save where unfortunately didn't do nothing because Cagliari scored immediately. But I like how he managed the box today. He came out a couple of times nearly at the edge of the box, and then he made that mistake. For me, the penalty is all Strakosha mistake because he's probably calling the ball, going out, and then he stops. And there, for me, Luis Felipe can only do that. He has to protect the ball. And when the keeper doesn't go out there, what do? You have to put your body in front of the striker. I think Pavoletti, as all the Cagliari player did today, exaggerated. It looks like he was shot from the stadium. But honestly, for me, that's a penalty, and that's a mistake of Strakosha. Luis Felipe did what he could do. So, how much I defend Strakosha. I think he's a very good goalkeeper. But today the penalty is his mistake.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think Luis Felipe was wrong to react in the way he did, or to give away the foul. But at the same time, he's done that as a result of Strakosha's hesitation. And as a goalkeeper, you really want to be the one who's being decisive in those moments and asserting your authority. Goalkeepers are quite well protected in these situations. So if he goes in to claim that and he's knocked in the head or the ball's taken away from him, he's likely to win a foul as well. So he could even go in with his feet and clear that out. You just need to make a decision, and he didn't. And you're right, it was a bit strange to see that, because before then he had looked more decisive in certain moments than he has done often this season. For example, I think he's a bit guilty sometimes of punching too much from crosses, and today he was able to collect a lot better, I thought. So yeah, it was a strange game from him.
Yep. Patrick Bowman agree with me, say that the penalty, it was Strakosha forcing Felipe to make that foul. Yeah, I think we all agree about that. Now, let's talk about what happened in the first half. I felt it was pretty much the same. The only difference is that Immobile was passing through the two defenders, and the defenders of Cagliari doesn't even look the ball, go straight on Immobile's body. Now, they have to explain me why the same referee, the same match, the same box, once doesn't see and doesn't ask the VAR, in the other occasion instead stops everything and go and watch the VAR. Now, you have to explain me this, because I really don't understand.
I can. I can't possibly explain that to you. I said on Twitter earlier, it's like Groundhog Day for Lazio, because it's the same situation we've been in several times this season. I think Inzaghi's definitely going to be furious and probably have words to say about it after the game. It's just not fair, really, to have that lack of consistency with decisions, because if you're going to have a second look at one and not at the other, then you're persecuting one team over the other. And it doesn't even matter whether one's a penalty and one isn't. If you're going to look at it, then you have to be consistent with that. And they were very similar fouls, So it's I know what people are going to say, and I'm not blaming that for Lazio losing the match. I think Lazio's performance wasn't good enough today by any means defensively, but it's something that you have to bring up because it's been a problem throughout the season, and there's no sign of it really improving.
No, and again, I can understand if a referee judged that type of foul, it's not a foul, but if the same referee once doesn't look for it and then give it to the other team, then no, this is a terrible mistake. And I cannot accept it. Today, Sassuolo got a penalty for a handball, and I thought, oh my, this wasn't a handball. And then I think what happened to Immobile against Torino, and I don't understand. And this is happening every single day, every single Lazio match. And as you were saying, I think you're completely right, saying that Lazio played bad today and probably didn't deserve to win. But how many matches other team won without playing better than the opposite team? A lot. Did it ever happen to Lazio? No, because an episode can change the match. You give that penalty to Immobile, maybe Lazio scores again and win and start playing better from there on. And this happened. Football is a strange sport because it's not all the time that the team that plays better win. It's the episode. You hit a ball, you hit handball, etc. Match change, and again against Lazio, it didn't. Another terrible mistake about the referee. And then there is the linesman again. At the end of the first half, Castan hits Lulic in front of the linesman, and he doesn't see nothing. That's something I really don't understand. So continue to see these mistakes against Lazio. I don't believe they're doing it on purpose against Lazio, but someone has to explain what's going on, because it's not acceptable, and I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to hear what Inzaghi has to say about it. He's been one of the most outspoken critics of VAR in Italy this season, and it's it's another one really for his argument, because yeah, like you say, there's too many decisions going against us. But you know, if we play better, score early goals, and control matches, then we can get away with decisions going against us and still win games. So that's the thing that needs to be worked on the most, is how we can improve the team's performances, above all, really.
Yes, I agree, and we said it. You know, Lazio didn't play well. I believe that as we said, there were a couple of players that are not performing really well, and that's one of the reasons. There are quotes of Ciro to Sky Sport. We are not happy about the result. We wanted to win today. We didn't play well, and we know it. The thing that drives me nuts is that when Lazio's playing, the VAR doesn't exist. I believe the one against me today was one of the most evident penalty in the football history.
Well, yeah, he's not happy, and quite rightly so. I mean, those are very strong words.
But again,
it's hard to argue with him, you know?
Yeah, there are two players going on the player and not on the ball. So, you know, that's incredible. That's really unbelievable. So, you know.
And it's his path to goal. You know, it's his path to goal is being cut off. He's knocked the ball through. He's chasing the ball, and he can't reach it because defenders coming his way to trip him up. So how that's not a penalty is beyond me. I don't understand how it's the kind of decision that should have been given immediately without VAR. So for it to not even be looked at through the VAR system, I don't understand.
No, neither do I. It's simply unbelievable. You know what I was thinking during the match? Every time Lucas Leiva scored, Lazio doesn't win. No, better. Every time Lucas Leiva scores, Lazio loses.
Well, I don't think he got the goal, though, did he? Was it not an own goal?
Yeah, I think. But, you know, he was there.
Well, it's not like he's constantly scoring for us.
But he was probably one of the few players to play above average today, I think.
Yeah, I think he was quite key actually in how we were going forward today as well, playing a lot of forward passes and looking for through balls and things. And I said at the time that the tempo of Lazio's game in the first half particularly was much better. I think they came out very strongly and looked to attack and play quick football, which I think we need to do in order to actually unsettle the opposition and try and get into an attacking rhythm. But I don't know, it didn't really seem to be enough. There was good rhythm, good pace to the game, and Lazio still weren't really creating much. And if you look at our goals today, they've not really come from well-structured attacks. One was a set piece. Great delivery by Alberto, which is something he was so good at the start of the season, and we've not seen so much recently. So credit to him for that. But it was just a set piece, and then the equaliser is really just a phenomenal individual effort from Immobile. But I think, perhaps the lack of clear-cut chances that we are managing to create is another big concern.
As I was saying before, too many wrong passes in the midfield that make the team lose pace when you're trying to attack. So I believe that's the reason. Now, what I don't understand is why 3 months ago we were making all that mistakes and now suddenly everybody is playing badly. Is it tiredness or I don't know?
Well, it's it's just a bad moment of form, isn't it? I mean, these moments do come during a season, and you just want to try and make them as last for as short a period as possible. And I think this is quite a good opportunity coming up. Starting from today, at least, was a good opportunity to end that run of form and get back to playing differently. But I honestly think that Lazio have just become too predictable, and that the shape Inzaghi's insisting on using every week, and the dependence really on Alberto to create and Immobile to finish. When teams are doubling up on those players, it's becoming very hard for us because, like the wingers we talked about earlier, aren't providing enough themselves. So I just think it might be, like I said at the start, the time to alternate. It doesn't have to be going with a back four, but even pushing Milinkovic-Savic closer to Immobile. There needs to be some sort of change in order to make us less predictable and more threatening again.
What would it be the solution for you then?
Well, I would like to see Inzaghi go back to something we saw more at the start of the season, which was playing more of a 3-4-2-1 formation, where Milinkovic-Savic was almost playing in line with Alberto. And I think having him further up the pitch does make us more dangerous. And basically, we seem to be creating a lot more chances when we had more bodies push further up. And if not that, then, like I was talking about on Thursday, a 3-4-3 seems to make sense, because you've got really high-quality wingers in Nani and Felipe Anderson, who at the moment are just sitting on the bench. So, I mean, you'd be able to put them in a line with Immobile and still get Milinkovic-Savic breaking forward. So, I mean, these are quite attack-minded shapes, but I think Lazio's strength, it's abundantly clear to anyone who watches Lazio, is that our strength is in our attacking players, not our defensive players. So I think in order to actually try and win games, we're probably best served trying to be on the front foot and be aggressive in that way, rather than trying to kind of control and manage games.
I thought Luis Alberto played well today, and I didn't like him in the recent matches, so I thought that was really good to see him performing like that. Finally, he got dangerous on free kicks. I think Lulic, after 5 minutes, missed a great chance, then Radu again, and then Leiva scored. I thought Luis Alberto was finally in a good form after a long run. But again, if he's all alone, then it's easier for the other team to stop him. I agree with you playing with a 3-4-3, but then it would be hard for Milinkovic and Luis Alberto to play, because they're not a winger. And if you put Milinkovic-Savic in the two central midfielder, then, you know, it's a little bit off balance to attacking team.
Well, but I think if you can, by playing in that shape, you rely less on the wingers in midfield to come forward and provide the width and attack, and so they can actually provide a bit more protection in order to stop counter-attacks coming in. I don't think it needs to be necessarily something that Lazio are playing for in 90 minutes or even starting the game in. I just think we were talking about this on Thursday. The ability to be unpredictable and to change shape, be tactically flexible, was a great strength for Lazio last season. And it's something that we're not really able to do at the moment, because whenever we get desperate for goals and throw on players, it doesn't really seem to be any sort of tactical blueprints in place. It just seems to be kind of get all these guys on and hope for the best. So I think working on a couple of variations of the system and shifting between things during a game would help us actually get through teams. Yeah.
Were you surprised today to see all those Milinkovic, Felipe Anderson and Nani coming in all together? Well, together no, but during the match and playing together?
Kind of. I mean, it was very it was very gung-ho attacking approach, but we did need something to change. We did need goals, and obviously Inzaghi thought that was the best way back into the game. It was to bring on all his attacking players, and obviously eventually it did work with getting an equaliser. But like I've just said, I don't think from what I saw today that it's something they've really worked on a lot, because it didn't seem like positionally everybody was really aware. Everyone was quite close together a lot of the time.
Yeah, I thought that, and you could see it really at the end of the match where Nani and Felipe Anderson were together on the right, and they weren't able to do nothing. They were pretty much marking each other. So I thought it was, when you're desperate, you have to make a desperate move, and that was what happened. So, yeah, I think it was a desperate move. To be honest, Nani, I don't know how he was able to miss that. He had incredible chances like 5 minutes before Ciro Immobile scored. That was, I don't know, when he missed it, I thought, okay, it's over, it's done.
Yeah, yeah, me too, to be completely honest. I mean, it didn't feel like the kind of where we were about to get a dramatic last minute equaliser. There hadn't been too much to suggest it. So I mean, look, it could be very important during this season to get that point, and every point's going to count because the race for fourth place is so tight. But given how good our away form has been this season and the position that Cagliari are in, it's really a missed opportunity today. With Inter playing Napoli tonight as well. Yeah.
Inzaghi just spoke to Mediaset Premium. He said, this is very hard. I already spoke about VAR in the past, but for another time we have been damaged by the decision of the VAR, and this happened very often. But we have to go on and start again. The penalty not given to Immobile, he said that could put Lazio in front. No, because Lazio was already down 1. But it was pretty much evident. I asked to the referee, he said he didn't see the penalty and he didn't call the VAR. But in the second half happened the same thing, and he did completely the opposite. It's a lot of things that make you think really bad, because it's all the season that Lazio has been penalized by this system. Guida said that he didn't see the penalty, but it's the same thing that happened with Gavilucci, Irati and Banti. I don't want to comment anymore this episode, but today I feel I have to do it. We created more chances, and we should score more, but we didn't. And at the first mistake, we've been punished by Pavoletti. Again, we think that we've been damaged by the VAR, and it's not the first time. Anti-doping of De Vrij, it's only a bureaucracy problem. I think tomorrow will be solved. So, yeah, as you could imagine, Inzaghi is very upset. Very upset.
Yeah, so he should be.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Felipe Anderson, because I thought when he came in, he made a couple of mistakes. I thought, okay, this is the usual Felipe Anderson that comes in from the bench and don't play. He has this problem. But hope finally he picked up, and he made two good chances. One that we said before, Nani missed, and the other one, I don't know who didn't score. But it was a much better Felipe Anderson than usual. Who didn't play is Milinkovic-Savic for me.
Yeah, and I was thinking after we had that conversation about Milinkovic-Savic on Thursday that he's been very, very much justified in his handling of Anderson, because obviously he was very unhappy with him after the Genoa game and his kind of attitude, and then dropped him for the Napoli defeat. And I think since that whole episode, Anderson's been much better as a result and looked a lot more motivated. So I was, thinking dropping Milinkovic-Savic for the game today, it could prove to be a very clever move to drop him from the team and actually motivate him to up his game a bit again. But we didn't see too much of that from the bench today.
No.
Even if perhaps he didn't have much chance, not an awful lot of time to influence the game.
Yeah, but again, today he had two balls near the box, and he didn't control them well. So I don't know what's going on. As you were saying for I don't remember which player. It's a lack of form, but seeing how good he is and knowing how can he decide a match with just one ball, it's concerning seeing him playing so bad.
Yeah, and he's such an important player for Lazio and has been so crucial to the way we do attack, because he's obviously basically our only player who provides that kind of physical threat, a kind of aerial threat. So yeah, we do need him to return to the top of his game in order for Lazio to return to their best form, really, as a whole. It's kind of like when Ciro was off form a bit, Lazio dropped, and now that Milinkovic-Savic is not playing too well, the same thing seems to be happening.
Yep. Adi on Spreaker is saying that he agrees with you. Lazio should play a 3-4-3. Allegri is great at that, and Inzaghi should take a page out of his book. Yeah, I mean, the problem with the 3-4-3 is where do you play Luis Alberto and Milinkovic-Savic. Last year, Luis Alberto played on the winger, and he didn't perform that well. I think he needs to start from the middle. He plays better there. But, seeing Nani today, he didn't play. He had a great chance that missed, but he touched much more the ball than, for example, Felipe Anderson and Milinkovic-Savic. So it's that type of player that I think can make a difference when he plays. And maybe playing on the wing is the best solution for him.
Yeah, and I don't think it matters too much that Alberto doesn't fit into that system, because he doesn't have to. I don't think Alberto's played well enough recently to say that no matter what system Lazio are playing, we have to find space for him. I think Inzaghi just needs to work out the best way of getting a system that suits the players he has available. And if certain players are off form, then he can alter his system around that. Allegri is a good example, because Allegri's team are capable of shifting between a back three and back four, and I used them as an example last week in terms of their win over Spurs. And yeah, that's something Lazio have been able to do in the past, so it would be nice to be able to have that option. I mean, basically, if there are games in which Alberto's failing to have an influence, then just to have the option of switching to a 3-4-3 and take him off, that would be quite something.
Yeah. And I still like to see the option 3-4-1-2 with Luis Alberto behind Immobile and another striker. Inzaghi spoke even with Sky Sport and says that getting the draw in the last seconds means that the team believe that till the last second, they try to score till the last second. There have been too many episodes not very clear. The penalty on Immobile, again, against Juventus last Sunday, there was a penalty on Leva, and the referee didn't even ask for the VAR, as it happened today. I don't understand these things. We don't understand. There's something that is not working. In a moment like that, it's very difficult to talk about football, because there's something in these matches that go behind football and that we don't understand. What was I saying? Okay. This is the goal of the year, right, Alistair? The goal of Ciro.
Well, yeah, it's definitely going to be a contender for goal of the season. I mean, it was incredible, really. And I think it's also a really... it's a very kind of brave thing to go for, It takes a very confident player to even attempt that, really, from the position we were in so late in the game. The whistle's about to blow any minute, really. So the temptation would normally be to actually just get the ball under control and try and create something. So, I mean, it really was, even for his standards, which are very high, it was quite a spectacular effort.
And I want to say this, because I don't know if you and our fans that are following us agree with me, but I thought Ciro was awful today. I think he didn't do nothing right. He missed a couple of chances, missed a couple of balls, etc. But the champion is there, you know. You're playing bad, probably the worst match of the season, and then at the last second, not only you score, but you score an amazing goal. This is where the champion, you know, where you make the difference, where you should be, you know, without confidence and saying, oh, this is a game to forget, etc., and you do that thing that is simply unbelievable. This is where a real player, someone who gives everything, every time 100% makes the difference, and this is Ciro.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think he's, even when he's not playing particularly well or on top of his game, he's still able to score. I think I'm right in saying he's equalled Giorgio Chinaglia's record for goals in a season today.
Yep.
I hope I'm right about that. But I mean, his scoring record this season's been just phenomenal, and you know, where we are at risk of being a bit too dependent on him. But you know, having a player like this, it can be the difference between getting in the Champions League or having to settle for Europa League, and it's going to make a big difference, those kind of goals and picking up points here. You know, even if it's not the result we looked for, it's a point, and that closes the gap to Roma from 4 points to 3 points, which can be significant, because if we win the derby, then you know, we go level in points with them instead of still being behind. So it does make a difference, and Ciro has been, I mean, it doesn't need to be said really, but he's been so critical to everything about Lazio this season.
How do you see it? This goal change the perspective of the team, give confidence to the team, or this match are 2 point loss and it's the signal that Lazio is going down?
Well, I don't know if it has to be one or the other. I don't agree with people who are saying that that Lazio are, you know, basically out of the Champions League race now. I think there are similar problems happening at Inter. I think our rivals for the Champions League places aren't flying particularly high either. One thing I would say is that perhaps the sense of injustice that's come from another bad VAR decision could spur us on a bit. I mean, if you look at the Torino game, which was probably the angriest Inzaghi and the players have been about VAR so far this season, the defeat against Torino was followed up with an incredible run of form. Just looking at it now, I think it was 5 wins and 2 draws in a row. So hopefully we can see a similar reaction now. If the players feel angry and like the world's against them, then they can hopefully channel that into, you know, changing their game and upping their performance.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I believe the team is a little bit tired, and in that type of moment, you know, every episode can make the difference. Greek Stav, it all seems to be reverting to the mean for Lazio. Finishing in the top 4 will be a major challenge, given Inter's 2 games in hand, but we'll see. Yes, it's more complicated now than it was before, even because we give Roma for dead, and now Roma won 2 matches in a row, beating or destroying Napoli away. That was a big surprise. So I feel that Roma, has a very important match this week in Champions League, but I feel Roma is a little bit better than the others. So it's going to be a challenge probably between Lazio, Inter, and Milan. I think Milan can go back. Inter has 2 games in hand, but let's not forget that one is against Milan and one is against Napoli. So they're not going to be very easy. But, you know, we were thinking that Napoli would have destroyed Roma. We all know how it finished. So we will never give anything for granted, I think.
Well, yeah, absolutely not. I think that is a good point, that Inter, yes, they do have 2 more games, but they're probably the games we would hope for them to have. Because that's a Milan team, obviously, that's very different from the one from earlier in the season. So, yeah, I mean, it's still wide open. It's really not, in terms of talking about reverting to the mean, I don't think the mean is struggling to beat Cagliari. I mean, I think this is a Lazio team that still should be winning these games, and I understand that basically you'll go through peaks and troughs in a season and have difficult moments, but Lazio have already had a difficult moment this season and managed to get out of it, so there's no reason why we can't do the same. And as things stand, there's, it's still a really decent position to be in. So yeah, I think we just have to really cheer for Napoli and tonight, and then see how it goes from there.
Yeah. And again, next Sunday there is Lazio Bologna, Sampdoria Inter, and Crotone Roma. So again, not a very easy match for Inter away against Sampdoria, who lost today. Big surprise against Crotone. So the calendar at the moment looks really good because, Lazio is playing against Bologna at home, and then there's Lazio Benevento. So there are a couple of games the Lazio could win. The problem is Thursday there's a key match against Dynamo Kiev at Kiev, so it's not going to be really easy. And at this point of the season, do you play the top team, the best players Thursday, or do you give another go with Murgia, etc.?
I think Inzaghi has to put out his strongest team on Thursday. Look, if we're traveling all the way to Kiev in the knockout tie and we need to win the game to get through, then you've got to put the strongest team you have. I'll be very disappointed really if he rotates and puts out a weakened side. I don't mind a couple of changes. I'd like to see Felipe Anderson start again, but I think it's not something that you should be looking to as a rotation game, because as we saw from the first leg, Dynamo Kiev aren't a team that you can underestimate, and it's going to be a very hard place to travel to.
Yes, I think it's the perfect match to test a little bit of changes, especially in front. It would be perfect to start with Felipe Anderson, Luis Alberto, and Immobile, because Dynamo defense is not very good. We saw it, and they struggle with the pace of Felipe Anderson and Ciro Immobile. If you put even Luis Alberto, knowing that a draw would mean to go out, so Lazio has to win, I think you have to play with a little bit a more attacking team, and this could be a very good test to see if it's possible to replicate this type of solution in Serie A, and if this solution makes Lazio more dangerous without making the defense struggle even more than happened today.
Yeah, well, it's like what I was saying before. I think our strength is in our attacking players, and what better opportunity really than a game where we have to score? I mean, we need to go out into that game and be on the front foot from the very start, because we're going to need to score goals over there to get through. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it is an opportunity to play a more attacking team, even to put Alberto back into the midfield, and play Anderson behind Immobile. There are various options he can go with. I don't expect him to be tinkering with the formation too much, but I think it's hopefully going to be a chance for him to put as many attacking players as he can into the same lineup.
As Ansori say, we're just not good enough this time. Inzaghi need to change our tactics, because lately all the team knows how to stop us. Our winger is bad, and I'm confused about the right CB. Different players, but same result and mistakes. Yeah, this is pretty much our problem. Even when Lukaku doesn't play, Marzuc was playing badly. So there's a problem there. We need to find a solution. And yeah, the option could be changing a little bit tactic, as they suggested before. So we're going to see if Inzaghi hear a podcast and follow us. Could be an option. You know that he's asked.
Of course he does.
Yeah, absolutely. You know that. We know that. So we're going to see. I mean, I think Inzaghi is a smart manager and he understands the moment. I believe he's very upset for the mistakes the referee made, but at the same time, he's smart enough to know that the team is not playing like before. And at a certain point, you have to make a decision and change things. And I believe that changing tactics could be a very good option. And so maybe Thursday is the perfect time to do it. So we're going to see. Al, do you want to add something else?
Well, yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's an opportunity really to try something different. I wouldn't expect him to try anything too radical from the start because he'll probably want to. I think Lazio can be fairly confident about being the better team and having the better set of players for this game, and winning the game 1-0 will be enough. So as much as I'd like to see Lazio go out to attack immediately, I think Inzaghi's likely to want to still play a fairly structured game, at least to begin with. And maybe, in the second half we see more attacking players come in, but I hope that's something they work on in training a bit more, so that when the attacking players come on, it's not what it was today when it seemed a bit confused.
Even Forza Lazio is asking pretty much the same question, saying when Inzaghi will have the courage to switch formation, moving from a 3-5-2. I think we're going to see it in the coming match. Now, Alistair, I want to talk about something that we had the discussion in the past. Now, I want to know your thought. I was in the papers, in the Italian papers today, the defense was, or at least this is how Lazio was going to play, with Radu on the left, Felipe Luis instead of De Vrij, and Wallace on the right. I was a little bit surprised that Felipe Luis played instead of Luis Felipe, played on the right near De Vrij. Someone is suggesting that the fact that Wallace is a Mendes player and that Bastos switched to Seg is one of the reasons why Bastos is not playing anymore, and Wallace now is playing more often. I don't believe this is the reason why, but I want to hear what you're thinking about it.
It does sound a bit like a conspiracy theory, really. I'm not convinced, no. I think the reasons for Bastos not playing are fairly obvious, which is that Inzaghi's lost trust in him. I think that's the predominant reason, and I find it quite unlikely to believe that that agents and those kind of considerations are having an impact on who's actually being selected for matches. I mean, look, it's Wallace and Bastos. These are two players who have fairly similar qualities and fairly similar faults, really. Whether one is playing or the other, it doesn't have to be a major talking point, because they both make too many mistakes and essentially are the weakest link in this Lazio team. So I think, in my opinion, the back three we saw today is Lazio's best back three at the moment. Luis Felipe, De Vrij and Radu. So I wouldn't read too much into it. I think it just is what it is.
Yeah, and Bastos started very well this season. After the injury of Wallace, I thought Bastos was playing very well. Then he tended to be distracted a little bit. And when you're playing at a very high level, you pay for every mistake you make, especially if you're a defender. That's why I think he fell out of luck with Simone Inzaghi. Wallace, Inzaghi said it Saturday in the press conference. He said that Wallace is playing because he was injured and he's trying to recover his form, and the only way you can do it is playing, and that's why he's playing, I believe, a little bit more, because I still believe, well, we have to see what happens in the next matches, but I still believe that the decisive moment will be at the end of the season. And when you have a lot of players tired because of the long season, if you have a lot of options, then that's going to be a big advantage. That's why he's trying to recover Wallace and giving a little bit more time to play, so that when and if he's going to be needed in a topic moment of the season, he will be available. Does it make sense? Do you agree with me?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It does make sense. And he's, it's worth remembering that Wallace did start the season playing very well before he did get his injury. So, I mean, Inzaghi's going to be convinced probably that he can get Wallace back to those standards. And, same with Bastos. He's another guy who's put in a lot of good performances. But, yeah, I think getting him back to full fitness is very important, because the amount of games we've got, rotation is going to have to be something that's, the defence is going to have to be rotated a lot. So, yeah, I think that's by far the simplest explanation.
And honestly, I'm impressed by Radu. He played so many matches, and pretty much all the time he's the best defender at the end of the match. He's always, if not the best, one of the best. And again, today, we blame Felipe Luis, we blame De Vrij, we blame Strakosha. Nothing to say about Radu. And this is not the first time. And he's not young. In the past, he's been often injured. This season, he's been absolutely astonishing, amazing.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the same thing watching the first half today. I think it was after there was a really dangerous cross came in and he just chested it wide for a corner. And it was just a really kind of calm and clever way of dealing with the problem. And it just made me start thinking about the way he's played. And I think he's a player that's quite easy to overlook because he's not a flashy player, but he has been absolutely huge parts of Lazio's success this season. And it's, bearing in mind that he's not really been playing in a back three for Lazio his entire career. It's pretty much been as a left back. So it's a new role, but as we've said all season long, really, it is a role that seems to suit him very well. And he's very good at bringing the ball out of defence and trying to set up attacks as well as his defensive duties. So, yeah, I think he's been a real unsung hero for Lazio this season.
Inzaghi said, I don't remember if this Saturday or a couple of press conference ago, that when he thought about the 3-5-2, he thought the central left position would be the perfect position for Radu. And I think he's right. That's the perfect solution for him. And he's showing it. So...
Yeah, exactly. It does seem to suit his kind of his strengths. It does play to his strengths very well.
Yeah. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed by De Vrij performance. Honestly, I was expecting something more. He made mistakes, Luis Felipe, but he also made a couple of very, very important tackles that saved Lazio 1 point today, but I don't remember nothing special from De Vrij. Again, I'm not saying he's playing badly because his head is somewhere else, but I don't think it's the same De Vrij of a couple of months ago, and that's concerning me.
Yeah, well, that was what we were worried about, I suppose, since the announcement that he wouldn't be extending his contract. And I think he has, he has let his performances dip a bit, whether or not that's linked to his future question. But we do need him to, like Milinkovic-Savic, we do need him to return to the top of his game, because at his best, he's been phenomenal for us this season. Particularly if you think about the game against Inter, for example, the way he dealt with Mauro Icardi. I mean, he's had some really tremendous performances for Lazio.
Yeah, I agree. The goal of Ciro Immobile reminds you a little bit the one of Roberto Mancini?
Yeah, I was convinced that this was going to come up at some point. Just any back heel volley has to be a good thing for football. It's too good a skill.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think that Ciro saw that the goalkeeper was a little bit outside the box, the line, and tried to lob him like that, or it was just I have to do something?
I'm sure he'll say he did. Whether or not he did, I'm not sure. It seemed a kind of instinctive thing to do. He obviously knows where the goal is, but I don't know if he'll have taken into account the goalkeeper's positioning, or if he's just basically stuck it in the general direction and hope for the best. But yeah, I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I say it again. For me, it's the goal of the season, no doubt.
It's just a shame it wasn't for 3 points. I mean, that would have been an incredible way to win a game.
Yeah. Anyway, again, 93 minutes goal for Lazio. Match is not over till it's over, right?
Yeah, making a habit of this. It's not a team that you want to leave matches early.
Yeah.
I'll be at the stadium next weekend for the Bologna game, and I'll make sure I don't leave before full time.
Remember that, huh? Don't care about the traffic. You stay there till the end, till the referee whistle. And hopefully VAR will help us this time. It has to happen once, right?
Well, that's probably hoping for too much there, but yeah, well, eventually, at some point, I'm sure we'll get a decision to go our way when it's utterly meaningless for us.
Obviously.
I don't know. I to be honest, I hate talking about VAR by this point, but it's just a subject that keeps coming up because of the way our matches are going.
Yeah. Again, terrible referee, and already I saw a lot of website and Mediaset Premium was talking about an incredible mistake that they don't understand why the referee didn't ask for the VAR on the penalty of Ciro Immobile. But we're getting used to it. It's very disappointing. As you said, I hope the team, instead of blaming the referee, etc., put extra force, extra motivation for the next match and show that even with the VAR against Lazio, they're going to be able to beat those teams. Because at the end of the day, they cannot do nothing. It's Lotito and Tare that should go and say something to the Lega Calcio.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this things can turn around very quickly. What's going to happen here is that we're going to go and beat Dinamo Kiev on Thursday, get to the quarterfinals, beat Bologna. Inter are going to lose tonight against Napoli, and then by this time next week we'll be very happy, looking good in the league and with a European run. So after that happens, then we can start being a bit more positive about things again.
Oh wow! What did you say? Now I'm really scared. It's going to happen exactly the opposite, right?
That is my fault.
Absolutely. I'm going to start blaming you already. As I told you at the beginning, it was going to be a long podcast. There were so many things to talk about. I think we can close it up here if you don't have anything else to add, Alistair.
I think that's all for now. I'm sure we'll have plenty more talking points by Thursday, though.
Yeah, a lot of things to talk about. Hopefully positive this time. Thank you very much, Alistair, for joining me. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this podcast. I'm not able to speak anymore. Remember, you can subscribe on iTunes, on Spreaker, on our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you very much, Alistair. Thanks, everybody, for listening.